Hey, this is Tom, and it's that time of year again where we get to look back on everything we accomplished in the previous year and start making plans for things to come. So join me as we take a look and review 2023. And make sure you stick around to the end so we can talk about something fun that's going to happen in 2024. I don't know about you, but 2023 felt like an incredibly busy and hectic year. And not necessarily just because of miniatures and sculpting and hobby related things. For me, there was a ton going on with my day job at work. Things really ramped up there, and just life in general felt very busy. Maybe it's the time of life that I'm in, with kids starting college and others growing up and just so much change going on. But there was also a lot going on within myself where I realized that I needed to start shifting things and really focusing on specific goals and areas and things that I've been wanting to create and working on for years. But before I get into that, I want to share some of the highlights and stats of the year. So first of all, I sculpted 10 miniatures, a little bit of a light year, and unfortunately, I believe, everything I can't even show yet because they haven't been released. Did some for Reaper, did some for RBJ Game Company, as well as a few things for myself that are for some special projects that are coming up. I was also able to post 10 videos to YouTube this year. Not quite the one a month that I was going for, but I'm very happy with 10. And one of them was a great interview and a chance to meet and get to know a sculptor that I am just absolutely in love with his art, Alex Huntley of Warp Miniatures. So if you haven't checked that one out, be sure to check it out and go find Alex's work because it is fantastic. And the channel continues to grow. At the time of this recording, it was just over 27.7 thousand subscribers. That is a lot of people, more people than I ever imagined that I would be reaching to help teach about sculpting and learn about working in this as a hobby or even as a professional. I didn't keep track of how many miniatures I painted this year, but I did get a lot done and I had a great time doing it, but I'll touch on that a little later in this video. So what have I been doing this past year that has seen me go from sculpting 40 miniatures one year down to the 10 for this year? Well, I can tell you one thing, it's not running a Kickstarter or putting out any product like that, because if it was, I would have sculpted a lot more miniatures. But I have been taking the time to do some much needed work, both just logistical things around my office and studio, as well as big plans for the future. Well, the first thing I did was to help get myself organized. I've spent so much time the last several years just go that my studio and home office area has just been kind of a mess. It's been hard to work in. So I went and took a weekend and just completely gutted, resorted, organized my office to make it a much better space to work in, much more comfortable to be in. And I set up a shelving unit that I had in my office. I put it out in another part of my basement. It gave me more room in the office, and it gave a much better work area to pack, sort, fulfill miniatures, work on any 3D printing I needed to do, and just get the spaces separate so I could let my studio remain the creative space I need it to be. But it wasn't all work. I had a lot of fun this year too. I had a great time. I got to go to 2 conventions this year. First was Adepticon, one of my favorite miniature conventions ever, anywhere. Got to hang out with Bobby Jackson. I took my son for the first time. He was supposed to go in 2020. Of course, COVID shut everything down, and he's been dying to go ever since. So that was an amazing treat to be able to take the trip with him to Adepticon right before he went off to college. And we wouldn't have time to do this stuff as much. I also got to go to Grand Con with one of my oldest friends, Cameron Craig, who also, coincidentally, came to Adepticon as well. It is a really fun local game convention up in Grand Rapids, Michigan that focuses on board games. We always end up playing some miniature games ourselves, and at this convention there's a really great group of people who play BattleTech, which is one of our favorite games of all time. It always surprises me how much time it takes for me to get ready for these conventions. Not so much Grand Con, although there's a little bit because Cameron and I always do some special BattleTech gaming and we have to get ready for that. But Adepticon for sure, because this year I put together everything we needed to play Space Station Zero and ended up playing that a little bit every single day at the convention. It was a great time, but it almost feels like getting ready for a new miniatures project whenever I'm trying to get everything ready for a convention. I also got to take a trip out to beautiful South Dakota and see my friend Matt Fitzgerald, who, and I've touched on that in a previous video, but this was another thing that was just as exciting and important as going to convention and took a lot of time to set things up and put things together. This hangout was great. It was so much fun, but more importantly, it really helped me zero in on two big projects that I have had on my list to do for many years. With everything else going on, the main thing that was taking so much of my time were these two projects. And the first one I'm excited to announce is the Goblin Menace. Back in 2020, I launched the Goblin Menace miniatures line, which was a great line of figures that finally let me realize some of the excitement and dynamics and more childlike mirth of miniature gaming. Ever since I released that first set of 5 miniatures, before I even did that set, I have been thinking about doing a game set in either the Adventures of Little Life of Cronin or with the Goblin Menace. But as I developed the Goblin portion, I hit on an idea that was much more interesting and sounded a lot more fun than just trying to make my own Mordheim, for lack of a better term. And that's how the Goblin Menace was born. I've been spending a huge amount of my time writing the rules, playtesting the game, and figuring out just what the Goblin Menace will be. The next project is more specifically for you, those of you here coming to this channel to learn more about sculpting miniatures. It's still a very large work in progress, so I'm not going to share too much about it now, but suffice to say, I plan to dedicate significant time going into the new year, and we'll be sharing more with you about it then. Well, 2024 just started, which means it is a great time to make plans, make those resolutions, and set the right tone for the coming year. And one of the first things you can do is click the link down in the description below and pick up a copy of the Ultimate Quick Start Guide to Sculpting Miniatures. It's a great way, a great synopsis of all the major points you need to start or improve sculpting miniatures. As for me in 2024, I will be working on the secret sculpting project that I mentioned a little bit ago, and I will also be focusing on this channel, making more videos. I've really enjoyed making videos, especially the last few months, the distractions and the 20 years retrospective, showing off little tips and tricks, and just talking about the industry and what goes into working in this hobby. I really love that. So I plan to do at least one video a month, maybe more, we'll see, but I don't want to overdo it. There's a lot of things to take care of, but you can expect one video a month. Aside from that, my main focus in the short term, the first 3 months, is the Goblin Menace. Like I said, I've been working on the rule book. It's pretty tight, and I have a great playtest scenario that I've been running, as well as additional scenarios that I've been working on. But the lead up coming into 2024 is always Adepticon. I mentioned that getting ready for Adepticon always feels like launching a new project. And in this case, it kind of is. Because at this Adepticon, I plan to demo the Goblin Menace. In this game, you will get to play as a group of goblins who are causing trouble, making mischief, and just having their own sort of fun. So my goal is to have an amazing demo set up for the Goblin Menace, where people can come and experience and understand all the aspects of the game, how it works. I can get feedback to improve things before I finally finish it and release it this year. That's right, I'm putting it out there. I've got a lot more work to do, but I'm putting the date of this year to finish up the project, put it together, and put it out to everyone. Now, before we head out and get started on knocking out all those goals for 2024, I wanted to throw this out there. I get lots of comments on the videos and direct messages through my website and other avenues from people asking me questions about sculpting miniatures and working in the industry and things like that. So one of the videos I would like to make this year is an Ask Me Anything, but specifically Ask Me Anything about sculpting miniatures in the industry. So rather than me going and answering the comments individually to people, I would love to do a video that brings a lot of these questions together so that everybody can hear them. So on this video, I'd like to ask you to comment below, and the questions that go down there, I will pull them together and I'll make a video where I speak to those specifically. Who knows? Depending on the question, it might even prompt me to make a video, an additional video about that alone. Well, I hope everybody's had an amazing Christmas and enjoyed the New Year's festivities and is looking forward to everything that you will accomplish in 2024. One of the ways you can make sure and get it done is to keep sculpting.